Hello and welcome to the exposing my TBR tag. I have a cat, which is why I'm on, well, she's leaving now, of course she is. I was gonna say, that's why I'm on the opposite side of the video. Not that anyone but me cares, it's bothering me. This tag was created by Reading with Tatiana. I was not tagged by anyone, but on one of my videos when I said I had like thousands of books on my TBR, she was like, you should probably do this, so I have a problem. I have a lot of books on my TBR, which everyone knows if you watch me. These are 3 of my bookshelves behind me. There are like half of the books on these shelves I haven't read, and then I have like 4 more shelves, and then like these 2 boxes are shelves I haven't built yet, so I don't know, take a shot every time you see them in a video, and I just don't have the emotional capacity to build them. It might be a few months. Splain, come back! Splain, where? Come be cute over here. No. She's being cute over there, which helps no one except me because I can see her. So the questions. I don't know what I'm doing. This video has to go up today. That's why I'm doing a tag. Whenever I do a tag, it's because I don't have a video to post, and I'm like, I should probably just like film a tag so I can post something. Not my favorite content to create, but I'm at the point where I would rather get content up than post nothing, because if I post nothing, then 6 months later I'll have to restart my booktube channel again. Question 1. How do I come across books to add to my TBR? Everywhere. Booktube, definitely for recommendations, but also just like rabbit holes. Like sometimes there are recommendations in books that I'm reading where they'll mention another book. I just read The Road Home by Emerson. Take a shot because again it's a tag, like I gotta mention her. I read The Road Home. The main character in that said her favorite book was The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie by Muriel Sparks, and I was like, guess who's got to read that now? So I do that sometimes. Booktube, definitely. But also, I just come across books randomly a lot. Like, I like to browse in bookstores, in libraries, in thrift shops, to be honest, most of the time. I do a lot of browsing in thrift shops, which is why I come away with a lot of like random books that, you know, might be popular, might not. And I like to browse, and I like to look at descriptions on the back and covers and like what vibe the cover gives me, and like just pick things up at random a lot, like without really knowing anything about the book or how well rated it is. And sometimes that works out wonderfully for me, because that's how I found Ellen Emerson White, who's my favorite author. I just found The President's Daughter one day in a bookstore and bought it and was like, sure, this seems fun and interesting, and now she's my favorite. And then sometimes I pick up a book and I'm like, this seems interesting, and it's the lowest rated book on my TBR and it's terrible. And had I checked it out, I would have known that. But this is what I do. So yeah, but I do like recommendations. I do like watching booktubers, which leads into the next question of Booktuber Shoutout to the person who made me add the most books to my TBR. Which I was thinking about this, and there could be a lot of people for this question because I've definitely added a lot of books because of a lot of people. But I'm gonna go with Mianicorn from the Bookish Land, who is still on Booktube, I think. I don't know that she posts super frequently anymore, but she's on Instagram too. But she reads a lot of things. I don't know. She does a lot of Asian literature. She's Chinese, so she talks a lot about Asian literature, Asian authors, East Asian, but I think she's doing a project right now where she reads like all over Asia. And like each month she picks a country and tries to find like a couple of books by authors from that country, which is interesting. I remember her doing like Sri Lanka recently, I think, unless I made that up. But whenever I watch her videos, I always seem to add something. She's the person who talked me into reading Ace, the book on asexuality by Angela Chen. She's the reason I just bought Black Box by Shiori Ito. And I mean, not just that, there are others. Like, those are just 2 very recent examples from the summer. But like, whenever I watch one of her videos, I feel like there's always at least one thing in those videos that I wind up adding to my TBR and kind of either reading or buying pretty soon. I really like her books. I really like her way of recommending books. I think it's interesting, and like her books are very interesting, and I highly recommend her channel and also like her Instagram, because she probably posts more about what she's reading on Instagram than she does on BookTube at this point. Maybe, I don't know. She's great. Watch her. I'm rambling. This is why I shouldn't film videos at like 7:30 in the morning. It's too early for me to think. I mean, I've been up for like 2 hours, but still. Question 3, the book that has been on my TBR the longest. Now that we're getting into the questions about like books specifically, I want to add the caveat. I am doing this based on books from my shelves. I'm not doing this based on Goodreads, because Goodreads is not really like an accurate TBR for me. And I'm saying this because Reading with Tatiana did do this mostly from Goodreads. I add anything to Goodreads that I'm even like kind of interested in. Like, I just put books on Goodreads because like people mention them and I'm like, that sounded kind of cool, let me add this. So like if I'm ever going back through my Goodreads looking for something random, I have a list of random books that interested me at some point. It's not really a list of like books that I'm planning to read, whereas my shelves are, and I have plenty to pull from my shelves. So I can't really look through and see like the first thing that I added to my shelves. So this is kind of like a little bit of guesswork in here and a little bit of close enough. So the book that is the oldest thing that I've decided anyway, I'm going with The Nine Inside the Secret World of the Supreme Court by Jeffrey Toobin, because I remember getting this in high school for my government class, which means I probably got it when I was 17. Never read it. I mean, like, we read it for school and I just answered the questions and we're like, yeah, Supreme Court, dope, and never read it. I want to, because I am interested in legal stuff. I find legal stuff fascinating, so I do actually plan to read it at some point. When, I don't know, but I do. So there are probably older books, but that was like the one I could think of that's definitely been there for more than 10 years. Question 4, my most recently added book. And for this, I do actually have the correct answer here. The Threads of Magic by Alison Croggon, which was a, I don't like holding them up from the side, which was a birthday gift from Abby of Pelennor. So thank you, Abby. We love Alison Croggon. I think we bonded when we first found each other on BookTube over the Books of Pelennor series, because they're this YA fantasy series from like 15 years ago that we both adore. Like, I grew up on that series. I love that series. It is my favorite thing. It's one of the only times I remember actually like waiting for a book to come out, and I got my parents to order it from Australia because it was coming out in Australia before it was coming out in America. So I made them order me, I mean, because I was like a minor at this point, I made them order me the book from Australia. So now I have like this random Australia edition on my shelf. But this is middle grade fantasy, I think. It vibes as middle grade fantasy. It might be way, I don't know. But I haven't read anything else by Alison Croggon, despite the fact that I adore that series. So I need to read this and experience more love for Alison Croggon, I guess. I assume I will like it because I love the Books of Pelennor so much. Question 5, which book will I read next? I don't know. I don't plan what I read next. I don't know what I'm picking up next. There's something I'm currently reading, but like that doesn't seem like it fits for this question. So I'm going to say Driven by Dane Cobain, which is the Lightfold Mysteries #1. Just because this is on my extended TBR and I do plan to read it this month before the end of the year. I don't know that this will literally be the next thing I pick up, but this is the next thing that I have planned to pick up. So close enough. Dane Cobain is another booktuber. I got his book. This is a mystery. He really likes Agatha Christie, so I feel like this is gonna be like vibes to Agatha Christie, which is what I'm preparing for, but I have not been enjoying Agatha Christie, so now I'm concerned. But this sounds really good. I like mysteries, so hopefully I love this, because otherwise I'm gonna feel like a terrible human being. Question 6, your most anticipated book and why you haven't read it. I have Endless Love by Scott Spencer. It is really hard for me to hold these things up with my left hand. It feels wrong. Endless Love, this was a movie that I watched, I think when I was in college at some point. And the movie is like this romantic movie about a boy and a girl who fall in love and her parents don't approve, and like bad things happen, but like they love each other and love conquers all. And it was not a good movie. And like bad things happen. Like there's a fire at one point and he like saves them from the fire, and like it's romantic. And I was reading reviews of the movie, and apparently this book is wildly different. Like apparently in this book, the parents have banned him from seeing the girl and like gotten a restraining order against him because he's stalking the girl. Like they're not in love, he's stalking her. Like that is what I heard from the book. And the book is like from, I mean, that's what I heard in reviews, and I think the book is from his perspective, so he doesn't see it that way. And I was reading a bunch of reviews of people who like, yeah, the movie completely twisted like the entire point of the book, and I was like, oh, I need to read that. And I actually found it in a thrift store not too long after, and was super stoked because this was at a point in my life where I couldn't really afford to just like buy new books willy-nilly, so I was super stoked for it. And this was like 8 years ago and I never read it. So I don't know why I haven't read it. I think it's one of those things where it's just like, I'm so excited for this, like I'm too excited for it, and I need to like calm down because I'm worried that like my expectations won't be met, because I don't really know anything about it apart from like other people's reviews of the movie, which is not this book. But I really want to read it because it sounds super, super cool. Question 7, books I have added because of the hype. There are a lot. I do get like, I like getting sucked into the hype because it's like I want to be on the hype train and have fun with everybody else, and then like I'm super picky about what I like, so that doesn't frequently happen. But one book that I picked up like solely because of the hype is Naomi Novik's Spinning Silver, which is a beautiful book. I found this in the thrift store. Again, new books are expensive, and it's like a book of the month copy, and it made me so happy because it makes me feel like I'm one of the fancy booktubers who gets fancy new books every month from Book of the Month. But this is an adult fantasy novel, and I do try to like branch out a little. I don't read much fantasy, especially adult fantasy, so like pick it up, try new things. And this does get a lot of, well, I don't know about it anymore. I remember a few years back when I bought it, Naomi Novik was getting a decent amount of hype for like this, but also her other book, which I don't remember now, but I remember there was another one that was like even more popular, I think. But yeah, I got this because of the hype, and I still haven't read it years later, probably because I got it because of the hype and it's like so far outside of my comfort zone. But I assume this is a Rumpelstiltskin retelling on account of it's called Spinning Silver. Question 8, books I added that I knew I wasn't going to read. There are a few, because sometimes I buy books for the person that I want to be instead of the person that I am. Not that that's necessarily bad, and I'm not saying I won't read these books, but these are definitely books that sit on my TBR for lengthy periods of time, like decades, that never make it onto any TBRs or planned reading lists, and never look at them and think I want to read that, because I really don't. This is not the only one. This is just the first one I saw because my shelves are a mess. Paradise Lost by John Milton. I don't really know what this is about. It's a retelling of the biblical story of mankind's fall from grace. That doesn't sound like me, and it's an old classic, and I just like, I think Moby Dick would also be on this list. I don't know if I own a copy or not. I might. Don't know. But it's like books that I in theory want to read, but in practice don't really care that much. But yeah, like I'm not saying I won't read this at some point, because I probably will. It's just like it's one of those books I own that I'm not like, I don't actually want to read it. I don't know that I will read it. It just sits on my shelf looking nice. I don't know. It's not the only book I have like this. Question 9, any book on your TBR that you plan to remove? No. I will say a few months ago, thank you, Spleen. You being a difficult child. Come get in the frame. Just thinking about it. There we go. We got a Spleen. The last time I did an unhaul, I actually got rid of a couple of books off my shelf that were unread, that were on my TBR, that I was just like, I am not going to read these. I don't know, like I don't think there are any more at this point. But I got rid of like a conservative nonfiction feminism book, and I got rid of some Robert Galbraith books, and just like a few things that like I was never going to read. I did not want to read, so I got rid of them. She's so bad. So no, I don't have any right now that I plan to delete off of there. On Goodreads, there are probably a number that I could go through and be like, this looks bad to me now, but from my shelves, no. And then the grand reveal for the number of books on my TBR. Please insert drumroll here. 615. Thanks for watching.